Hey everyone, welcome back to Reading with Tatiana. Today I'm reviewing My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix, and it's my first Grady Hendrix book, and unfortunately I gave this book a 2 out of 5. My Booktuber shout today actually goes to two Booktubers. It goes to Tangible Reads and This Reading Life. And why I'm giving a shout to two people today is because they actually facilitated and organized a group read for this book. I'll link down their discussion video below if you want to check it out. My Best Friend's Exorcism was published in 2016, and the genre I would put it in is young adults slash mild horror slash or definitely coming of age kind of story. Also, this year, a movie adaptation of this book came out. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can definitely check it out. It is also called My Best Friend's Exorcism. About the author Grady Hendrix. So he is a novelist, a public speaker, a journalist, and also a screenwriter. He is best known for his work in 2014 called Horror Store. And if you can probably guess from the word horror store and also this book, My Best Friend's Exorcism, his specialty is in the horror genre. Grady Hendrix is American and he currently resides in Manhattan. And during the pandemic, he started a podcast for 6 months. If you want to check it out, it's called Super Scary Haunted Homeschool. And basically, it dives into the history of horror. So if you really like horror, check it out. Now I get into the story and also the characters. So I say there's basically two main characters. There's Abby and Gretchen, who are best friends, and the story is told through Abby's perspective. And basically what happens is Abby and Gretchen are part of like this group of friends. They're in high school. The other two friends are called Margaret and Glee, and basically the four of them one evening or one weekend go to Margaret's family's vacation home, and they drop acid or LSD. And then during this trip, during their acid trip, Gretchen goes missing, and they go all night looking for her. And the next morning, Gretchen comes back from the forest, and they're not sure what happens to her, but she's obviously like really like scraped up, and she's actually like naked. And Gretchen has no idea what happened to her either. But they kind of took it off. They just kind of wrote it off as a bad acid trip. However, as the days progress, Gretchen starts acting a bit erratic. And she also doesn't like do the usual things, like call Abby every night to do the usual phone call and that kind of stuff. And also things start happening around them that's kind of weird. Like, Margaret and Glee start acting different than their normal behavior, for example. And at first, Abby thinks maybe Gretchen was assaulted during that night when it did the acid trip and she was missing. But then with all these like people around them acting weird and having strange behavior, it seems that all things kind of lead back to Gretchen. And also Gretchen seems to have changed personalities overnight as well. So Abby's like really curious what happened to her. Don't want to spoil the book too much, but basically they go to a very religious and proper school, and as the title of the book says, My Best Friend's Exorcism, you can kind of assume that Abby starts suspecting that maybe Gretchen didn't just get sexually assaulted, but maybe she is being possessed by demons. I also wanted to say, forgot to mention that this book, like there's a bit of like demons and possession. It's also set in the 80s. So there's a lot of like throwback nostalgia for if you grew up in the 80s or love the 80s. Like every chapter I think is named after like a pop song from the 80s. There's lots of references to things in the 80s. And I also read after that during the 80s, there's like some weird like obsession with like demon and satanism in like pop culture. So I thought if you're into that, I should mention that, as it might be a plus for you to read this book. The common themes in this book, I actually only have one, because even though there's so many things that happen in this book in terms of action and different like things you can allude to, I truly think there is one theme that Grady Hendrix wants to focus on, which is the idea of friendship and loyalty. So Abby and Gretchen are longtime friends, and they sacrifice so much for each other. And even when Gretchen's going through such a hard time being possessed and whatnot, like Abby does whatever she can to make sure she can bring Gretchen back. So this book is really like a test of time of what a great friendship will do. And I actually really think this book would be a great buddy read between two friends. And just to see and even have a discussion of what you would do for your friends. So that is the common theme that I found in the book. Things I didn't like about this book, unfortunately, I did give it a 2 out of 5. I do want to caveat, I'm probably not the target audience. I didn't really enjoy most of the characters, not even Abby and Gretchen. It was just very like, woe is me, very teenage angst. Not really for me. I also didn't really like the horror aspects of the book. Parts of it came out of nowhere, but also I want to caveat, I went into this book not knowing anything about it. So maybe I just wasn't in the right mindset. Like one thing that really came at me that I wasn't expecting, and I won't spoil it, and I'll just say it with one word. So if you read it, you know what I'm talking about is the tapeworm scene. And things I did enjoy about this book is the friendship, which is very prevalent throughout the whole story. And I also like how each title of each chapter is titled 80s throwback pop song. So there's like the beat goes on, one thing leads to the other, new sensation, dancing in the dark. Like every chapter is just great for that. And I'm not even like a huge 80s person, but I love a good pop song, and these are all great pop songs. On Goodreads, this book on average of 3.98 out of 5, which I think is very accurate because it's been out for several years now. So bad reviews is that people felt that every character was a walking stereotype. They thought things in the book was kind of outdated. For example, in the book, they use the term queerly, and they also use slave day. I would have to counter that. I don't think that is a legit bad review, just because this book is set in the 80s, and I think the author, Grady Hendrix, did a good job representing the time, the school, like the lingo and the culture of that time. And I don't think it makes sense for us to try to filter the past. Because back then, like, not when I was in high school, but when my brother was in high school, he's 10 years older, so in the 90s, there definitely was slave dates. So why write that out of history when it is a part of history? Good reviews for this book to get you enticed to reading it is people love all the 80s references, all the nostalgia. They love the themes of Satanism, possession, exorcism, and a lot of people love the campiness of the book as well. So I feel like it'd be cool to see the movie adaptation to see how they brought that to real life. Why I think you should read this book? I think you should read it if you love the 80s, if you love Satanism, if you love horror books, this one's for you. And also there is a movie adaptation. So if you love book to movie adaptations where you can read the book then watch the movie, I highly recommend that too. Now I'll share how this book made me feel, because if you ask me a week, a year, 5 years from now, I probably won't remember exactly what the book was about or even the characters in it, but I'll also remember how a book made me feel. So my best friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix, it made me feel very grateful for the friends I had in my life. Like, it's honestly very inspiring to see the great lengths that Abby would go for her friend Gretchen, and this book made me just think about my friendships. So I like that part of the book. Thank you for watching until the end of my full book review for my best friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. If you've read this book, I'd love to hear what you thought down below. And if you want to join me next time, I don't have a copy of the book because I'm actually doing the e-reader version just because I wasn't able to get my hands on a physical copy, is Swim in the Dark by Tomasz Jedrowski. And I'm not sure what it's about, but it's part of my book club, and it seems to be really popular that I can't get a physical copy on my hands, so I think it will be a good read. Anyways, again, always thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!